Hey everybody, I'm the Ranting Monkey, and today I'm going to need my ducks.
They're pathetic fuckers that want to keep killing our children. They could have blood from children spattered all over their faces and they wouldn't take action, because they'll still see those dollar signs.
Since David Hogg is only 17 years old, there are things we're not allowed to say about him. For instance, we can't say, David is a cunt. He can say whatever he wants. He can call people who disagree with him murderous fuckers, but since he isn't 18 yet, we can't say David Hogg is a moronic dickhole. We can't say David Hogg is a hypocritical piece of shit. It'd be wrong for me to say David Hogg is a pussy-ass motherfucker who can dish it out but can't take it. And we sure as fuck can't question how this child who is being pushed as smart enough to solve the country's gun problems can't seem to manage to get into a college even with his 4-point-plus GPA and extracurricular activities. So I'm not going to say any of those things here. But we are going to talk a little bit about the controversy surrounding that last one. Laura Ingraham tweeted this out the other day. David Hogg rejected by 4 colleges and whines about it. Dinged by UCLA with 4.1 GPA. Totally predictable given acceptance rates. I know, it hurt me too. I've already scheduled a session with my therapist to deal with the pain of this horrific tweet. Here she is, a grown woman, mocking a kid for not getting into college. A kid who said this.
You think what sick fuckers are out there that want to continue to sell more guns, murder more children, and honestly just get reelected? What type of person are you when you want to see more fucking money than children's lives? What type of shitty person does that?
This is a child. He is beyond reproach. He is not to be laughed at, mocked, or ostracized.
Those talking about how we should have not ostracized him? You didn't know this kid! Okay, we did!
Well, that's awkward. Apparently it's only okay to treat kids like shit if you're a 17-year-old. Laura's had too many birthdays to laugh at David for his complete failure and whining. David, being a mere boy on the edge of manhood, couldn't deal with her mockery. Thankfully, being made fun of didn't lead him to shoot up a school like what happened to the kid he and his friends bullied. Instead, he took to Twitter and started a campaign targeting advertisers on Ingraham's show. And so far, it's been pretty successful. 11 advertisers have pulled out, including major brands like Johnson & Johnson. Not bad work for a kid. Now you see why we can't say David Hogg is a raging pussy who can't take a little bit of ribbing. Saying something like David Hogg is as sensitive as a whore's clit after a 12-hour shift can lead to bad shit. Laura fucked up. David tells us what you can say about him.
And that's what really matters. I don't care if they can say as many lies as they want about me, but if people are becoming more politically active regardless of if they're a Democrat or Republican, that's a great thing.
You see, apparently Laura's mistake here was being truthful. She would have been fine if she'd lied. If she had said something like, David Hogg was smart enough to get into college, she'd have been fine. But taking an honest jab at him is a no-no. So we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is look at what David has suggested we need to do to stop school shootings and criticize his ideas. His ideas aren't new. They're the same stupid the same misguided ideas that come up every time the anti-gun crowd finds a tragedy to exploit.
Let's say you can get a law passed, one federal law. What is it? Like, what does it look like? What is the strongest first thing that you do?
If you have a history of mental illness, our policymakers need to define that, because I'm not going to. I'm fucking 17. I shouldn't have to.
Right.
I shouldn't have to be talking about these policy questions, but if I was to see something, I would like to see a 10% tax on all firearm sales.
A 10% tax on firearm sales. This already basically exists. There's a 10% federal tax on pistols and revolvers and an 11% tax on other firearms by manufacturers, producers, and importers of more than 50 firearms a year unless it's for the military. Not that I would expect a kid to know that or know how to Google that fucking information. You go on fighting for shit that already exists, Dave.
I would like to see the federal age of gun ownership and possession raised to 21.
Raising the age to purchase a gun from 18 to 21. This is so fucking stupid. Sorry, David. What I meant to say is this is incredibly misguided. What you're basically saying is that while you have a problem with an 18-year-old kid shooting up a school, it's fine if a 21-year-old does it. That's the logical conclusion of this ridiculous argument. If you're under 21, it's not okay to kill kids with guns. Now, maybe it's just me, but that doesn't seem like the message you want to send. You were a victim of a school shooting. I mean, you were in no danger and your first instinct was to film the reaction of the kids who were, But would you really have felt better about your classmates dying if the shooter had been a little bit older? Would the faculty who died be less dead if the shooter could legally buy alcohol? I really need someone to help me understand this moronic idea. And that's not even getting into the fact that sometimes people steal guns. Maybe we should make it illegal to steal a gun if you're under 21 as well. Let's cover all those bases.
I would like to see a universal background check implemented.
This is another one of those things that gun control advocates just repeat. If you buy a gun from a licensed retailer, as this kid did, you go through a background check. What they're whining about is the gun show loophole that doesn't require a background check on sales at gun shows. It's never been an issue in one of these mass school shootings. Hell, it wasn't even an issue in the Las Vegas shooting. In fact, the background system check has failed miserably, as we saw in the theater shooting in Aurora, Colorado. That lunatic shouldn't have been able to buy a gun, but his background check came up clean. But yeah, we need to close that gun show loophole. In the case of your school, the kid's background check was clean. He had no mental health notices. He committed no crime that would prevent him from owning a gun. Background checks are not some window into the soul. They are a history of your criminal behavior. I don't really mind background checks, but you idiots, you people need to stop acting like they will change anything. They only matter if you have a certain history, and even then we've seen them fail.
And I would like to see more mental health care spending to ensure that people like the shooter at Stoneman Douglas are not able to get these guns. Because the shooter at Douglas was somebody that, honestly, they needed help. That's really what they needed.
This is another place I don't necessarily disagree, but it's not a silver bullet. The kid who shot up your school was already reported to the local police and the FBI. There weren't just warning signs of mental instability. There were huge, glaring signs that the kid was dangerous, and no one did anything about it. The FBI couldn't even be bothered to investigate. How do you get people mental health when the authorities won't take credible threats seriously? There are already mechanisms in place for this, but the authorities have to act for them to mean anything. Simply saying we need better mental health help is meaningless in a case like Stoneman Douglas. Any change you make is not going to matter when the authorities refuse to do their job. The problem in the gun control debate is that we can't be honest. The reality is, most of us will go our entire lives without being in danger from a gun. And by most, I mean the vast majority. It only seems like a huge problem because when these things happen, we're bombarded with it 24/7 for weeks at a time. We are a lot safer than the news would have you believe. That said, you also can't stop horrible people from doing horrific things. All of these laws you want to change won't stop a criminal from committing a crime. It's almost as though you guys don't understand what a criminal is. By definition, they don't give a fuck about your laws. Murder? Already illegal. Schools? Already gun-free zones. Background checks? Already exist. None of them mattered. And if we're being brutally honest, if you get rid of all guns, people intent on hurting others will just find other ways to do it. We've already seen bombings and cars being driven into crowds. Would you really feel better if your classmates had been run down by a truck when school was let out that day rather than being shot? There is no common sense to common sense gun control. The ideas either already exist or would have done nothing to stop the tragedy that sparked the calls for it. And unless you can be honest about that, we can't have a real discussion about what might help mitigate future tragedy. Because the truth is, you won't be able to stop it no matter how many marches you have. As for Hogg, I think he said it best himself.
I'm fucking 17. I shouldn't have to.
Right.
I shouldn't have to be talking about these policy questions.
Now, I can't say David Hogg is a hypocritical, thin-skinned, opportunistic cunt rag making a name for himself off the grave of dead children. What I can say is, I think he's right when he says he shouldn't be discussing policy because he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up this one. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and share it with all your friends on social media. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you need more monkey in your life, social media links are below. You can also catch me with Satsu 2 Cents and Scribe Light 6 nights a week. Schedule for that is also below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm the Ranting Monkey, and I'll see you next time.
You think what sick fuckers are out there that want to continue to sell more guns, murder more children, and honestly just get reelected? What type of person are you when you want to see more fucking money than children's lives? What type of shitty person does that?
Your life makes me sad.
Fuzzy monkeys.